Fountain of life, pulse of life, breath of life. Earth is filled with the presence. Please join me in an affirmation. We believe that the presence is among us, in the darkness before dawn, in the waiting and uncertainty, where fear and courage join hands, conflict and caring link arms, and the sun rises over barbed wire. We believe in a with us God who sits down in our midst to share our humanity. We affirm a faith that takes us beyond the safe place, into action, into vulnerability, and into the streets. We commit ourselves to work for change and to put ourselves on the line, to bear responsibility, take risks, live powerfully and face humiliation, to stand on the edge, to choose life and be used by Spirit for God's new community of hope. A reading from The Mystic Heart by Wayne Teasdale. Panentheism means that everything, the universe, nature, the earth, our life, is within God, in the consciousness of the divine or the divine mind. This very subtle perspective is based on mature mystical experience, not speculation. Many mystics the world over are panentheists. Even a celebrated New Testament text in the Acts of the Apostles is panentheistic. In this passage, Paul describes our intimate dependence on God to the Greeks. In Him, God, we live and move and have our being. Thomas Aquinas taught the panentheistic notion that each one of us has always existed in the divine mind as an idea. And an idea in God's mind isn't a mere idea. It actually exists in God. So ends the reading. In Him we live and move and have our being. Those words have always wowed me. You can substitute God or presence or spirit or ultimate reality for the word Him. And still, when I consider living, moving, and simply being in the ultimate reality, I am overawed. And it's even more inspiring when I realize it's not just me, not just you, but us, my neighbors, your neighbors, the dog across the street, and the farthest star in the farthest galaxy. It may sound kind of silly, but I like to use the analogy of a fish in a fishbowl. The fish must live in water, or it will die. The fish moves and lives in the water. The water is all. Thinking in terms of each and every one of us as living in God is humbling. Can you imagine how vast God would be? And when you consider there are now physicists who put forth the theory that there is more than one universe, and more than our four dimensions of height, width, length, and time, it's humbling to imagine God's transcendence. And yet God also lives in each of us, being intimately personal. Consider this. The only time any of us has really lived in another being was when we were forming in our mother's womb. To her, we lived and moved and had our being, and the chances of living outside the womb before we were certainly a certain level of being um, of growth, well, our chances of living outside the womb were slim or none. We depended on our mothers for our very being. We lived in our mothers, and as every mother can attest, we definitely moved in our mothers. And we know our mothers were aware of us. Our mother loved us. Our mother took care of us and cherished us. I can then image God as mother, nurturing, supporting, trustworthy, and loving. In her, we live and move and have our being. You're invited to pray in the spirit of the Lord's Prayer in whatever words are comfortable for you. All God, heart of the world, revealed through every aspect of creation, understood through our awareness. May we honor the holiness of creation and act accordingly, so that your love is reflected in the way we live. May we always be thankful for the food we eat and the friends we have. May we forgive those who transgress against us and be forgiven for our own. In the freedom of love, may we live as your heartbeat and not be compromised by hesitation. Through our freedom, may your justice be seen and heard and experienced forever and ever. Amen. Let us take a moment now to lift our hearts and minds to those in need and to those near us and the world over. Let us lift our hearts and minds to the reality of AIDS, especially in the African countries. Let us lift our hearts and minds to those who live in poverty and need and want. And let us spread peace in our families, our communities, and everywhere we go. The chalice on the altar represents our oneness with one another and with all that is. Let us recall that we are connected to one another, to everyone in our home, on the earth, and to all living creatures at all times. Come to a contemplative communion in a period of silence. We have come together as one, regardless of space or time. Let us live our lives in the joy of the presence and compassion toward all. We go now to spread love. You're welcome to join me in the forum following the e-service. I will only be available this morning, but I hope to see you there.